Hello, this is Jacob Briggs, and I'm here to talk about my final project and everything that there is to go inside of it, and things that I wish I could have done if I had more time. So, first off, let's get uh, the must-use concepts out of the way. So, I believe namespaces is the only one of those ones that I don't have open. So, it is right here is what the namespace is. So you probably remember this from earlier on. Um, so what my namespace was a custom random function that could be used to randomize parts of a puzzle. So even though it's a super random and it's called random, but it uses the system random so that you don't have to write this every single time. Um, we get a list of what we need in uh, our things. So in the one example puzzle I have, it is a riddle, and you have to decipher what the riddle is. And you have four different choices on where you walk into just to, you know, get it. And so now we see that we have time, nothing, money, and love in that order. And then if we were to stop the game and go back in, it's now in money, time, nothing, and love. It is random each time you load in. So this could be applied to other uh, puzzles in the game later down along the line. Hold on 1 second. I just realized that I'm in this server waiting for people to join, or was waiting for people to join. It would be awkward if they just joined in and heard me talking to myself about code. So, anyways, this function, this random function, namespace function, is just used so that each time we have a puzzle, we could easily just say, let's, we can make it random each time, make it a little, mix it up a little bit, so that not every single playthrough of every puzzle is exactly the same, and that there is a little bit of randomness to it, and where you find certain items for it or certain answers, like this door could say this, and you have to choose which door you have to go through um, for a correct answer to a question part or something like that. So it's not exactly the same. Um, it just adds like an extra level. I feel personally. Um, so next is coroutines. I wanted to add in more coroutines than just the movement that I had before, because I haven't cleaned it up since before because I've been working on everything else. But my coroutine right now is still just the walk coroutine that handles um, the directions in which the player walks. I wanted to add in a whole scene, um, like an opening scene to the game that used coroutines to like move the character around and run dialogue, but I just couldn't find the time to finish all of that. So instead, we just have the same movement coroutine that I had before. It just handles walking in directions and stopping the animation in the direction that you stop moving in. Also, I should say that all of the art assets and music assets are all from opengameart.org. I wish I had the link to every single one of them, but I don't. But I could go search around and find them. But all of this came from opengameart.org. I didn't pick and choose between different websites. It's 100% all from opengameart.org. That's usually my go-to. So we showed off coroutines, interfaces, and getters, setters. So my interface is the damage interface, right? Because most horror games don't usually have like a health system. That's what this is going to be. It's like in a horror puzzle game. But I was thinking gameplay like Corpse Party, the Corpse Party games, where they have that health uh, function so that you have to survive a whole chapter if there's any threats in it. You can only be hit so many certain times in a chapter. And I thought that would be a nice thing to add in. So it's not just like the usual one and done sort of thing. You have multiple chances. Um, so, right now, the interface is just an iDamageable. That's the interface part, and it says, hey, you're going to take damage. If you have this, you're going to take damage. And if eventually there's like a weird thing like in Course Party, I keep bringing up Course Party because this could be applied to multiple things. There's like a weird boss fight in one of the Course Party games, which is like way different than the usual survival thing that it is. This could also be used on any enemies that may also be able to be damaged by anything. But the getters and setters go right along with the damage interface, and they return and set the health whenever it gets changed. Um, this will not check to see if the enemy will die. I got the example from, or I just kind of took it from my tank game because I used this in a tank game because I didn't think um, I would be using health in here, but I am now. So we get and set the health, and we can see if I load the game up and click on our player, as soon as the game starts, yeah, there we go. So if I go to the player, I scroll down to health, we have our health, and if I click on the game and press U, you can see that it will update and it will take off 20 health every time I press U just to show that it will take away health, and it gets stuck at 0. It will not go below 0 because of the clamp. So no weirdness there with that. So that's interfaces, getters, setters, and then next, something I just talked about in the last project, scriptable objects. Um, let's bring up here. So in our resources folder, we've got scriptable objects. Let's make one again. Just to show off, we'll say that this will make a puzzle 3 key in here. Puzzle 3 key. And then the item type would obviously be a puzzle unlock because it's a key. And the item level would have to be from a puzzle. We'll say it's a puzzle 3. Oh, I think I already had a puzzle 3. My bad. Anyways, we'll just say that puzzle 3 is unlocked from a 0 level puzzle, which is a start puzzle, so it's an item level 1 drop, so that it, how do I put this into words? You can't get it from a level 0 puzzle that can only lead to a level 0 puzzle. You also could not get it. This is so that like you don't do the puzzles in a set order. It's kind of like how it's derailed in the puzzles have certain things and certain points that are the same thing all the time, and then it's random. This would allow me to like cross-check lists with the keys and like say, okay, from this puzzle you can get this, and let's check which ones you already have so you don't get those again, and then you can do, depending on what you get, you can do puzzles in certain orders later as you go down the game, and then once you've reached like all the puzzles in like this level, and then you're up to the next level, then you reach like a whole other pool of keys that you can get and kind of look at, and then you have like a whole other pool, and then you just keep building up until you reach the end of the game with these keys. I thought that was a really cool idea. I don't know if it's actually a cool idea though. Okay, and then with the um, required to use 4 of the more topics listed below, we can go and look at, I believe this would be seen in the menu scene. I believe that is the one. I'd have to look at the script to remember what every button was for it. General, save settings. Yeah, save settings. So for the JSON, I went over this back in the JSON thing, but what we do is we grab how much the volume is set to, and then we save it into a file, and we can save over it as many times as we want, but it's only that one file. And then we can load out of that file and parse it back to a string and say, hey, this is what our volume was before when we saved it, and we want it to be that. This is so that like you can save your settings when you like close out of the settings tab. So we could apply this to like as soon as you start up the game, when you load into a level, check this JSON file, see what we want our settings to be. Um, so we have S to save and L to load. Let's load this up. I believe this is the right scene. Yes. So, right, I have to turn sound on. Desktop audio is off right now. Let's turn this on. So we can drag this up and down. We can see that it's changing the music. So let's save it down to like bottom. So we saved it. I have a debug.log that says, hey, we saved it at 0. Now let's turn it all the way up and then press L, and then it loads back into being um, at 0. The only thing that happens is that the bar doesn't move. I believe I talked about this last time too. For some reason, the bar does not set back to where it was, so if I just touched it, it would be loud again. And let's bring it back down here, save it there, go back up, and load it back down to be quiet, just to show that it doesn't save it like 0 every time, just like to prove that it works. So that's my saving and loading from JSON. My next one is going to be loading assets from resources, which I used alongside my scriptable objects. So let's go back to scenes. I believe it's hub 1. Yes. Okay. I can close this one. I can close this one. I can close this one. Can't close that one yet. Not that one. I can close that one. And that one. Not those ones. And not those ones. Okay. So with my load assets from resources, we have our item scriptable object, which is the item scriptable object. And it goes right hand in hand with link examples, which eventually this won't be called link examples. If I make this into a fully fledged game, it'll be like the inventory system, because that's kind of what it's become, with all this messy code adding stuff in from earlier. Um, we'll get into some of that when we talk about link, but pretty much this kind of handles what our player's inventory is, and it also allows me to check what's in there, which will then lead to being able to, well, let me turn the sound back off because this can be a little loud. I lost my train of thought. Right. What button is it? Let me check what button it is. Filter for collectibles, it's P. So we can see, if I go into the game, press P. Right now we have a piece of mirror and a song lyrics notebook. So let's pause it. Let's go into pickup, which is really messy because I ran into a lot of weird issues trying to load one of the scriptable object stuff into a list template sort of thing that says it needs this stuff, which is the same exact stuff that I needed for scriptable objects, because I was trying to originally use scriptable objects alongside this, but couldn't get it working, adding them to a list, and now I see why I couldn't do it when I was working through this, but there was a lot of like conflicting stuff, so it's a little messy, but pretty much we grab whatever scriptable object we want to load in on a pickup, and then we get variables and name them based off of this. So we have our name based off of what the name is called. We have the level based off what the level is set to, and then we have to do weird stuff with the type. It's very much set to be an example for the collectibles right now because we only have a collectible if statement. So it says that if the type of our item scriptable object is collectible, then our new type, which will be set into when it gets put in our inventory, will also be collectible because it doesn't like taking one enum and making it another enum, which made me want to pull my hairs out earlier before I thought of this very messy solution, but it works now. So pretty much what this does when you it's very much set to be an example for the journal right now too. This would be very more open to whatever the pickup's going to be, but it'll make a new inventory item. The ID doesn't actually matter. I thought that was going to be a thing that mattered when I was setting up the link examples, so that will be removed at some point unless it becomes more important. But then it takes our item name, which is our object name, which is the loaded item, which is our item, our scriptable object that we're picking, its name, and the same thing for object level, except it's item level from our scriptable object, and then our item type will be set to the equivalent of what our scriptable object's item type was. So now we can load back into the game and say, let's walk over this. Let's clear that out and press P again. And then we can see that we have a journal on our list now, which we just picked up. Type collectible level 0, which is exactly the information that we said to pass in here. And it's just a simple on trigger enter and then destroy it after we get the item from it. Next, let's just skip down to link. I was going to do dependency injection next, but we're already on the link stuff. Let's go down to link. So I have this. This was the project that I did all my link stuff on, which was filtering, sorting, and then checks. So let's just go over those real quick. We just saw me filter for collectibles. I can do it again. It'll find all the things in our inventory because we can see here that we've added keys. And these are for all the puzzle keys. And then in our inventory, we only have 3 of those keys, and then we have 3 collectibles. Oh no, we have 2 collectibles and a puzzle piece. And then we can see that when we press P, even though these are all in our inventory, that we only see the 2 of them. And then if we walk over this one and press P, then we have all 3 of them. And then when we go down, press L to show off sorting. We'll sort the keys that we have by their level, I believe is what it is. So if I press L, yes, it'll go through and it'll say, hey, this key is level 1, this key is level 1, and then this key is level 2. So that one's higher. And it'll list them out in an order, and then press K. It'll check for keys. It'll cross-check the all puzzle keys versus how many keys are in our inventory right now, and it'll say which ones are missing. And if we press K, we can see that the only one we have missing is puzzle key 4 because we have 1, 2, and 3, and then all the puzzle keys that exist are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's my simple link examples. Super useful. It's gonna be really useful when it comes to actually dropping the keys and showing like inventory stuff with like you can look through and you can see all the collectibles and all the lore that's a part of these collectibles when it actually becomes more of a fully fledged game. So that'll be nice. And last but not least, dependency injection. I never thought this would be something that I would be showing off for this, but I actually understood it when I was looking at it. So what I used dependency injection for was the dialogue. Um, the game root says, hey, make a container, and this container is going to have a command under dialogue manager to run it. And the dialogue trigger, I believe, is the one that says, hey, if you dispatch this command, you're going to need to pass in these things that the dialogue needs, which is the dialogue itself, the animator, the name of the character that's talking, the text of the dialogue, and then all the sentences in it, which are all, or some of them are named here, the sentences and the name. And the dialogue manager sets these parameters for the command and says, hey, when this gets called, we're gonna pass these things in this order because that's what it's set to, and you're gonna run through it. You're gonna set this to this, and after we get through, you're gonna close out the dialog box. So let's open this bad boy up. Press talk, pops up. You can press continue, read through all the dialogue, and then boom, end of conversation. It closes out. Amazing. It was a pain. I think I mentioned this when I was talking about it when we were actually going over it in the first place, but it was a pain to figure that out because of the all the stuff being so old for the one I looked at, but it worked out and I love it. The dialogue manager became the command. I don't think I mentioned that actually, which is what this calls or what this is registering, and then dialogue trigger is where you actually like say do this when you push the button. Really, really weird. And I believe on here is like custom editor scripting and stuff like that, which I guess I did a little bit of. It's not like one of the main things. It's just what I talked about last time in the dialogue trigger. It says, "Hey, these are very important things for the game. Um, so please fill them out." It sets them to red and says, "Hey, pay attention to me, please. You need to fill me out, or this game is not going to be as good as it should be because dialogue is going to be in the story is going to be such a huge part of it that you kind of need that reminder of, hey, this is very important. Make sure this is done because if that gets left out, then you don't know what you're doing at some part, which is not good. But anyway, that's my final project. It's kind of a lot of stuff I worked on over the progress of the semester with some stuff added in at the end here that I had shown off in the tank game that I just applied here or applied differently here. So yeah, this is super fun. I really hope that I can work on this project more because this has been this aspiration of mine for like since I wanted to make games. So being able to work on it for classes has been really cool. Even though there's not much done with it, it's just been kind of building on concepts to like use as I go on with the idea. Um, but yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Goodbye.